Welcome to this introduction to the PMP exam. Predictive project management is pretty easy to understand. This is where you conduct the project linearly. You start off with a plan, you plan everything possible, and then after you have planned, you then begin to carry out the plan. But in the world of predictive, we plan everything up front, and it has its advantages. When you truly know the work you are going to do, then of course you should plan it out, plan everything out, and then do it. And it should all work like clockwork, right? Well, in some circumstances, it really does, and that's okay. But in some circumstances, you may need change requests. So, a big part of predictive project management is how change requests are managed. Let's define project management. What exactly is it? It's the application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to project activities to realize an expected outcome that the customer has. That outcome should also be tied to benefits. What are benefits? Well, benefits is the net quantifiable value that a customer experiences from using a product, service, or result. So these keywords are very important in project management. Talk about outcome, talk about benefits, talk about value. Now, breaking down project management a little bit more, we can also say project management is the application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to project activities to deliver a deliverable that results in value and benefits towards an expected outcome for the customer. Now, let's talk about how project management is broken down. Project management can be broken down into 5 groups of processes. And the 5 groups of processes in the world of the Project Management Institute, the body behind this exam, these are called process groups. And there are 5 process groups. There's initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, and closing. There's actually a fun mnemonic for this, and the mnemonic is I prefer extra money cash, or I prefer eating mangoes chilled. So once you've mastered the sensibilities of that mnemonic, initiating the project, in other words, authorizing the project, planning the project, executing, doing the work in the plan, monitoring and controlling, checking the work to make sure that it is going according to plan, and closing out the project or phase in the project. The next thing to master is the areas in project management. And there are 10 knowledge areas. That's right, 10. Now I hear you say, my goodness, Phil, that's a lot of knowledge areas. How am I going to master those? I have a mnemonic for you. And the mnemonic goes like this. I saw 6 chipmunks quietly roasting coffee, reading poetry stories. Outrageous, right? Now, what do all these stand for? I for integration, S for scope, another S for schedule, C for cost, Q for quality, R for resources, C for communications, R for risk, and P for procurement, and the last S is for stakeholder. I saw 6 chipmunks quietly roasting coffee, reading poetry stories. Quite outrageous, but very helpful in remembering the knowledge areas. So, what do these knowledge areas stand for? Integration is all about the coordination of all the moving parts of the project, making sure the project moves along in one cohesive whole. Scope is all about scoping out what needs to be done. I use the telescope analogy. When you look through a telescope, things become clearer, become nearer. And that's what scoping is all about, scoping out the project. Then we have scheduling, putting the timeline together. Then cost, understanding the budget. Then quality, fitness for use, conformance to requirements, and customer satisfaction. Planning how to do that. How do we make sure this product is fit for use? How do we ensure that the project in totality conforms to the requirements, the regulations, and how does it satisfy the customer? And then we move on to resource management. Resource management is all about planning how to acquire resources, acquiring the resources, developing them, managing them, and in the case of physical resources, controlling them, controlling how those resources come through the project, ensuring they are being used the right way. Then we get into the next knowledge area of communications. Communications is all about communicating. I often tell my students the 5 W's and the H. That is what communication is all about: the what, the where, the when, the why, the who, and the how of communicating. That's what we do. We plan, we execute. In other words, we communicate. And research has shown that the project manager spends anywhere from 70 to 90% of the time communicating. That's a lot of communicating. And this is one area we need to get down pat. In fact, the PMBOK Guide, 6th edition, states that the top 2% of project managers are those with superior leadership and communication skills. So, this is a skill we definitely want to have. Finally, risk management deals with managing uncertainty. Procurement management deals with contracts and vendors and procurements. And stakeholder management, it deals with ensuring that your stakeholders are happy and engaged. Finally, Agile. That will be a topic for a different day, but I'll leave you with this thought. What is Agile? It's not a framework, it's not a methodology. Agile is a mindset. The most popular Agile framework that encapsulates that mindset is called Scrum. And Scrum is based on a 3-5-3 configuration. There are 3 roles, there are 5 ceremonies, there's one unofficial ceremony, or we now call them events. And lastly, there are 3 artifacts: the roles, product owner, scrum master, and team; the events, the sprint planning, the daily scrum, sprint review, and the sprint retrospective; and the artifacts, the product backlog, the sprint backlog, and the increment. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to go through project management with you. I look forward to having another conversation very soon. Bye for now.